Now, ladies and gentlemen, the players just loading into it. It's Organic Belt, and it is once again going to be between Space Vrath, a little bit hard to say, as they changed out the W for a V on us. They cut it in half. And Team Gravity will be our other squad. Now, we did also have a correction on this, by the way, as Team Gravity was going under a different name last week. I forget the name they were using last week, but I think that they were recently picked up by Team Gravity, so they're now going under that name.
Perfect. Oh, it's nice to see organizations coming into the scene. That's awesome. That's always a great sign.
And well, let's get into it, though, as we are going to see Axismund pick up the first kill here using dual ricochet guns, I believe, in order to pick that up. And it's going to be able to get a second one, too, as Amazing Odin also going to go down. Some blasts are going to get picked up by Manello, as I believe he's also dual-wielding those at the moment. Just more the kind of crack shot, almost sniper-esque weapon here in the game.
Yeah, it looks like Team Gravity are off to a really strong start. They're just looting up all the weapons around the map here. Space Vrath are they're gonna have to come back swinging, otherwise Team Gravity might just snowball this out of control.
Yeah, it's looking like we have another one of those situations here for Gravity as they push themselves ahead. So far, 2 team wipes to none. Space Vrath running into the same problems that we were seeing earlier from Team Flux, where unfortunately they were really struggling with their spawn positionings and it just getting locked down every single time. I think the key that I've seen with teams is just move quick. Don't sit around and wait for your opponents to try and peek you. You have to be proactive about chasing your opponents down and making sure that they do not lock you out. We've even got, again, Amazing Odin trying to lock his players in. Axismund, unfortunately, though, is going to be right on top of him, able to take him out relatively quickly and keep the score just rolling at this point for Gravity. 6-0 over Space Vrath.
Man, Axismund is just destroying Space Vrath right now, not letting them breathe even. I mean, he's just been roaming around the map, picking whatever weapons he wants, and it seems like he's landed on that minigun and a pistol on the side of that.
The Ricochet-shaker, I believe, is what he's got dual-wielded at the moment here. So he's going to have to drop it, though, but he's got a spawn one right behind him, so he's going to be able to pick it right back up again. And it is just, unfortunately, a very one-sided affair again. 8-0 now. Still Space Vrath yet to respond. And Manello and the rest of Team Gravity really just chopping for weapons here at this point, running around, picking up everything they can find. And more importantly, resetting the spawn timers as well here to prevent anyone on Space Vrath from being able to pick those up. Now, the other weapons do get left behind when you change it out, but it doesn't give, there's not, as you can see on the spawns, there's that very big decal, so the weapon is a lot more obvious when it's positioned inside of those spawns. So the Space Vrath players don't even notice that they can try to pick up some of these dropped ones coming out of their own spawns here.
I kind of like what, I like Team Gravity's approach here. It seems that Axismund is running around with the ricochet gun, and Manello is using that slingshot for splash damage and just throwing out grenades out left and right. And man, Space Vrath just don't have an answer at the moment. Yeah,
unfortunately, it's looking like that's going to continue to be the case unless we see a serious change-up. Obviously, we're a little over halfway through the game at this point, but we're probably not even going to need the full timer at the rate that Gravity are picking up frags. It does seem like they were able to throw Gravity off a little bit on this most recent spawn, but again, ready to engage, and again, just cannot take the fight. The Ricochet-shaker combo coming in from Axismund is just absolutely destroying them close range. And when long range is necessary, Manello. Actually, no, I've just noticed Manello is also on dual Ricochet-shakers at this point, which does seem to be the preferred combo for players, just because especially if you can get within range, you can absolutely destroy someone's HP with that within just a few moments, especially on these more open-ended maps like this, because it does tend to work pretty okay at even medium ranges too, as you can see right there with Manello.
Man, and we see Space Vrath trying to recollect themselves, hiding behind that space rock out on the corner of the map, and they're just trying to, I think they're just trying to come up with some sort of strategy that they can move out of that rock and pick up some armor and pick up some weapons, but they are getting destroyed at the moment. They have they can't even move out of that rock, Blue.
I think just trying to basically stay alive for longer than 5 seconds is the key for them at this point. So Gravity looking to take a definitive 15-0 again here, unless Space Vrath are able to get themselves a plasma rifle and they can snipe someone out from range, but it's not looking like that's about to happen here. Under a minute left as well, so even if they could try to find some impact here, unfortunately, time is probably going to make it near impossible for a comeback to happen. And as such, map number 1 is a pretty much safe guarantee now for Gravity to go up 1-0 in the series.
Wow, and you can see Axismund really taking advantage of his range with that sniper rifle, the railgun. He's just popping shots off. They are really not giving Space Vrath any sort of chance here.
Almost managed to take out top of Poland with a single one-shot there. Again, reminding you, they don't have armor or anything like that, so they're very susceptible to just getting sniped out by the plasma launcher, which is what Axismund has in his hands at the moment. Still hiding, and this is like one of the few claustrophobic areas of the map where they can't really push into it, but they're going to do it anyway. And I believe one final bio pump shot there from Axis Mun finishes off the round for Gravity as they do take a perfect opening map, 15-0 against Space Vrath.
15-0, and you saw Team Gravity kind of styling on them at the end there with that bio pump. What a way to close out that game. We actually didn't see bio pump throughout the whole game, but they didn't really need it. They were just popping shots off from a distance this game.
We see the weapon preferences, I think, kind of change up a little bit depending on the map. I think bio pump was pretty popular last week on Factory when we ended up going into that map. We haven't seen it, of course, yet today, but Factory tends to be a little bit more of a closed loop map, a lot more tunnels and things like that, a lot more kind of close range fights. So you can even see a few sword kills coming up from that map as well, just due to the fact that players are able to close gaps a lot more easily. But on maps like that one that we just played on, way more open-ended, way easier to just basically rip players apart from range, and most importantly try to spawn lock their opponents, which is exactly what we were seeing the players from Gravity do right there.
For sure, and you could definitely see that Axis Mund is very practiced in this game. He really wasn't missing any shots, and I imagine it is pretty challenging to keep a steady aim like that and stay locked onto your opponent, but he was using the ricochet from a distance actually, and just every bullet was landing.
Yeah, and that's why we see players tend to prefer that because the aim on it is a little erratic, so you're not going to hit every single shot, but if you can get a dual combo of it, there's so many bullets that it just doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And basically you can just pepper an entire area of the map with just entire just ricochet basically and clean them up through that method.
It's amazing.
So guys, map number 2 should be coming up here in just a second. I think we're just waiting for our observer here to find the lobby and join it really quickly. And we should just be a few seconds away from being able to jump into our next map here and see if there is going to be hope at all for Space Vrath, or if we are unfortunately looking at another one-sided match for Team Gravity to push themselves forward and keep a high-held position here in Group B, remaining undefeated in the process with what would be a 3-0 record for the season so far.
Now I was taking a look at the team bios and the information on these teams that are participating in these qualifiers, and it seems like Space Junkies has the younger players in their game. No one over 30. Really, not a lot of people over 25 years of age playing Space Junkies in this qualifier, Blue.
It seems to be like a pretty intensive game to try and get into. Like a lot of very twitchy reactions that need to happen as well. So I think that aligns with because obviously we have some experience coming in from other FPSs, and we've seen that as well. As players kind of get towards the late 20s and whatnot, aim slowly, generally speaking, starts to dip off and whatnot. So it might be one of those games where that has an effect just because of how low the TTK is and how quick your reactions need to be in this game, compared to some of our slightly slower paced games like Onward, and I think even Echo Combat is maybe a step down on the speed meter potentially.
Yeah, these games are going really fast, very fast.
It does get very cool when we actually get two teams that compete relatively evenly with each other, but it's like we said before, today we've started out with games that are unfortunately a little bit one-sided, so we're hoping we can get a match in here where our opponent team is able to put up a bit of more of a challenge, and we see a bit more of an even affair back and forth. But this shows just how committed some of these teams are because of how much control they're able to get early on, because of how dominant they're able to be and just, control over the entire map. When you look at things like that, and they're just not even letting their opponents out of spawn.
For sure, and being such a new game, I mean, it's kind of expected, right? Not really knowing who your competition is or what you're facing up against, and so it's kind of expected that that the scale of the teams are a little different here.
We've already had this happen at a few games. Onward had this where it was, one or two teams kind of dominating an entire region, and to a certain extent, still stayed that way for the entire amount of Season 2. And it was now really in this season where we see a lot more upsets happening and things of that nature. Same can be said to a certain extent for games like Echo Arena too, where we've had, Eclipse dominated the North American circuit for the longest time, but now in Season 3, maybe starting to lose their grasp a little bit. So we're going to have to see, obviously, if those things remain true for those games. Here in Space Junkies, we're kind of looking at the same team, with the front runners in each group being very much a front runner, taking that definition literally, and needing to see, of course, until we get into the closed qualifiers, I think, before we see maybe some more of those even matchups come to fruition here, at least when we have the top teams playing in each group.
For sure, and that's just kind of how it happens, right? And it's really nice to actually have a team that's so dominant within your league, because then you have something to set up and work towards, and these are the teams and players that you look up to, and you steal their strategies.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And if you've got a team that's that dominant within your league, you definitely want to see what they're doing right.
Yeah, very much, and you want to try to learn from them as much as possible. Players are certainly going to be able to do that, like we said before, guys. I believe this is just the second week of competition that we've actually had here for Space Junkies. I think there was a week off last week while we were covering Onward. I don't think they played without us streaming, and I could be wrong on that, to be fair. But yeah, I believe they had off last week, and they're once again jumping into the fray. This is only the second week of actual competition that we've had here, and it looks like we are getting pretty close to starting the match off here, guys. I think we might be waiting for one or two more players to get readied up, and then it's just a matter of getting the map selection, and then we can jump into map number 2 between these two squads and see, once again, if Space Vrath can recover.
I do have to mention also the 2 times I played this game, Blue, it seemed the movement was actually very different in this VR realm as opposed to, let's say, Onward, whereas in Onward it was very slow and real-life movement, but it seems in Space Junkies it's just so unnatural that they've taken away that element of motion sickness-ish. It doesn't seem to affect you as much because the movement is so fake.
It's more like fluid, I guess you could say.
Fluid, yeah.
It's a little bit more fluid, so it works into the playstyle of the players better and doesn't take them out of out of sync with what's actually happening in game. As you might expect with a game like this. I think there's been a few space games where like the objective is to make the player feel like unnerved and kind of out of their element. So this one obviously having to try and avoid that takes us further and further into the match. Dermanello starting things off as we are getting into the match relatively quickly, folks. And we are going to see actually a bit of an even trade to start things off. A 2-for-1 exchange. The problem is their Team Gravity came up with a full team wipe, so Space Vrath ended up off the table for a good 5 to 10 seconds. And that is going to allow for Gravity to have free reign over the map and take good amounts of control of any weapon spawns or armor pickups that they want to try and go for.
And Dermanello coming out really strong. He was a little bit more quiet in the last game, but Axis Mund was so strong that he didn't have a lot of opportunities. But yeah, he's starting out really strong here for Team Gravity at the moment.
Sunblaster play coming in from Dermanello. You see Axis Mund once again going for the Ricocheters right at the start. And already finding good results with that, a 4-1 lead. Again, they've got Space Vrath trapped at this point. They're constantly picking up refills as they pass by the Ricocheter pickups. And there we go. You can see the focus that works really well when you're able to dual wield these Ricocheters. Really well done by Axis Mund. Just melts both those players. Doesn't even really need Dermanello in this situation. He's more backup than anything else in the event that Axis Mund overcommits to a fight and ends up going down as a result of it. As it definitely looks like at the moment here. We're looking at Axis Mund as kind of the cleanup crew.
And you can see how aware Axis Mund is with the timers on those armors. And he just 1 versus 2 Space Vrath and really didn't take much damage at all.
There are hazards on these levels too, and you almost saw Amazing Odin fall victim to one of them right there. There's a few walls that ended up like closing off if you're not careful. So players do have to, I think like the intro video said, you have to be constantly aware of your surroundings. You could end up trapping yourself in a situation where the map itself just ends up killing you. More kills going to be rolling in here for Gravity. Besides the one trade that we saw from Space Vrath at the very beginning of the game, they haven't been able to pick anything up just yet, so it's all Gravity all day. Dermanello is going to stick with those Sunblasters as he keeps refilling the dual-wield combo that's spawning in the back of the level.
And we spoke about being proactive earlier, Blue, but you can see how important it is to actually really be as proactive as you can. Dermanello, during that respawning time, he's going out, replenishing his armor, replenishing his bullets, and using every second that he can.
There's a bit of an example of kind of what you don't want to see players doing right there. Space Vrath getting back into a literal corner. And unfortunately, as a result of that, making it very easy for the Gravity members to melt them down as they're using a lot of rapid-fire weapons, like we're seeing here again with the Ricocheters, making it very easy to not even really have to aim in certain situations here, basically just try to pelt your players down. That's the benefit of the Ricocheters in these small rooms too. It's actually Axis Mund does end up losing his teammate, but he's able to pick up the second kill anyway. That's another 1v2 from Axis Mund. Very well done, and those Ricocheters are really proving their worth for him.
Very well done indeed, and that was actually the closest trade that we've seen Space Vrath be able to do, but a little too short. Axis Mund just a little too strong for Space Vrath there, but it was a lot closer of a duel than we've been seeing, for sure.
Axis moving in. He's already got great damage going on to Tom of Poland here. Tom looks like he is able to get out of the way at least temporarily. Also got a new weapon being picked up, possibly just temporarily here by Dermanello as he's trying to get those Sunblasters again, but he's going to be using the Cosmic Ripper. He's going to be moving in, picks up the 14th kill, and now only one away. They did stagger the spawn slightly there too, which could leave Space Vrath in a very, very bad position. The Cosmic Ripper for Dermanello and the Ricocheters for Axis Mund. They just have to push in on the spawn, which again, judging off of the play we've seen so far, they should have a relatively good idea about where these players are going to be spawned at, and there we go. Unfortunately, Last player is Stagger Spawn, so he does not have the support from Tom of Poland. As such, Gravity will dominate once again, 15-2, taking control of both the map and the series for today.